think, act, and prosper. You are now tuned into the Money Level Show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Money Level Show, where we think, act, and prosper. Today, we're going to talk about, is the price of oil going higher? So for me personally, I believe that the price of oil in the United States, at least, is going higher by the end of this year. I say that because of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. So President Biden came out last year and said that he was going to be releasing from the SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, to help combat, gas prices or whatnot, because the price of oil was shooting higher. And then we had the invasion of Russia and Ukraine, and the price of oil went higher again. Oil is used a lot in war, so you can imagine that the price will go higher. And so the government has been releasing at least 1 million barrels per day from the SPR. So we're going to look at that, how that plays into it, and then when is that scheduled to end? Because when that ends, then I believe that the price of gasoline is going to go higher, and I believe that the price of oil is going to go higher. And I also believe that there is an ulterior motive here as well. So let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, so this is energy.gov. This is SPR Quick Facts. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve is a U.S. government complex of 4 sites with deep underground storage caverns created in salt domes along the Texas and Louisiana Gulf Coast. So here we are. The highest inventory that the SPR had was 727 million barrels, and that was on December 27, 2009. And so when I'm talking about like the price of oil, as well as the lack of investment into fossil fuels, this was the highest it's ever been. And this was 2009. If you look at the charts for when crude oil topped out, I believe it was 2011. Then it ended up going up back again in like 2014. So there was a lot of investment in commodities during that time. Especially, you see the price of uranium topped out in, I believe, 2011 or whatnot. The price of gold, topped out, and everything. So like these commodities were being there was more investment, more capital going into these commodities. And so you could see like, okay, well, this was the last commodity bull run. And in 2009, they had the highest amount of, inventory for the SPR. So now, this is the price impact of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. So it says here, and this is on treasury.gov, it says to help address rising energy prices and mitigate a shortfall in production of oil owing to Russia's war in Ukraine, which that is just, nonsense. That plays a part of it, but there's also been an underinvestment to bring more supply online. So that is, and I believe that we're going to continue to see these price spikes in commodities until like we face what is actually happening. Until we look in the mirror and say, hey, we haven't been investing to bring more supply on. And so this is absurd, but I digress. President Biden in March of this year announced a historic release. So they released a historic amount from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Following this action, the Department of Energy is in the process of releasing 180 million barrels from the SPR over 6 months, while International Energy Administration partners are releasing an additional 60 million barrels. So that equals 240 million barrels from the 180 from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and then the IEA is going to release 60. Now, what does this have on the price impacts of gasoline? So let's get into it here. It says it is unclear how much these changes in oil prices were passed through a retail gasoline and diesel prices. In general, we were expect a 1-for-1 pass through. A $1 per barrel decrease in crude would lower the price of gasoline by $1 per barrel, equal to 2 cents per gallon, right? Since there are 42 gallons of gasoline per barrel. However, recently refining markets have been very tight and it's possible that a $1 change in crude oil will not lead to an equal decline in the retail price of gasoline. The following table summarizes estimated impacts of the SPR releases on gasoline prices, assuming full pass-through. Okay, so in the U.S. only, so the price change per gallon would be 13 cents to 31 cents per gallon, and this would round up to be about 33 cents or something like that. The price change per gallon. I forgot what this is about, so don't even quote me right there. So then you have the U.S. and the IEA, because the IEA is contributing to 60 million barrels. So that would actually change the price to 17 cents to 42 cents per gallon that will be saved. And I believe this is the estimate or the roundup, 38 cents. So it says, as shown in the table above, our analysis suggests that President Biden's historic SPR release, in coordination with IEA partners, lowered the price of gasoline by 17 cents to 42 cents per gallon, with an alternate approach suggesting a point estimate of 38 cents per gallon. This decline in prices had meaningful benefits for American consumers and helped to mitigate the impacts of rising gas prices on economy-wide inflation. Moving forward, the Biden administration is committed to further addressing the concerns about rising energy prices. So they're suppressing the price of oil. Lynn Alden has talked about in her interviews that this inflationary issue is structural, meaning that there has been a lack of investment in commodities over the past decade, and so this happens in cycles. Even Josh Young, who is a oil expert, talks about this. And so Lynn Alden actually says, like, this is like holding a beach ball underwater, and as soon as you release, it is going to pop up out of the water, right? And so thinking about this, it's like, okay, well, right now they're suppressing the price of oil, and they're actually scheduled to end that this fall. All right. So let's go ahead and go over to the next article. Okay, so this is U.S. SPR releases set to end this fall. A record high release of crude oil from U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve will end as scheduled this fall, the White House Special Presidential Coordinator for International Energy Affairs, Amos Hochstein. We can't be an oil supplier. It's a reserve, and so we have to keep that, Hochstein said, adding that he did not expect this to lead to price spikes because the oil industry was already preparing to increase production once the SPR release ended. So you have the presidential coordinator for the IEA, saying that we can't be an oil supplier. And this is, the U.S. is, releasing from the SPR, which the SPR is usually used for war, because war takes a lot of oil. I remember watching, a documentary on Pearl Harbor, and pretty much, I apologize, y'all. My reading and my speech is just off today. Like, my brain is just somewhere else right now. But I was watching this documentary on Pearl Harbor, and a lot of what led to Pearl Harbor was Japan needing oil, and America was a big supplier of oil, and America didn't want to, I think they didn't want to increase their exports of oil to Japan. And so that caused an issue. So, this SPR is used for, war. It's used to be a reserve for a reason. And so we can't just keep depleting it. And so I believe that, once we stop, the price of oil is going higher. It's been suppressed for a while. And I do believe that this is just a play for the midterm elections. I believe that the Democratic Party is under pressure because of inflation, because of a lot of things. And suppressing the price of crude oil, may help them get votes. Sometimes people buy our votes, and people think that it's uncommon for politicians to buy our votes. And that's what happens. So we'll see. And I also think that the Inflation Reduction Act is going to add to the problem. Because we're not bringing more supply online. And now, don't get me wrong. Like, I believe in clean energy. I believe it's needed, for sure. And, I believe that's going to be nuclear, also known as fusion energy. And, but I think that we need to, I just think that we're putting the cart before the horse, and we need to get more supply of oil, for whatever this last run before we reduce dramatically the amount of oil supply that we use or whatnot, and replace those with clean energy initiatives. But, I don't think nuclear has had its full shine yet, for being a solution for clean energy. And so I think we're still dependent on a lot of weather dependent sources such as solar and wind. But however, leave your comment down below. What do you think? What do you think about the SPR set to end in this fall? I think it's October, November. What do you think is going to happen with the price of oil, and are you positioned? All right, y'all. Y'all take care. Peace.